Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, coming to you live via SHR Media and High Plains Fun Talk Radio. Lovely, it actually is. I know I say this every day, but today is a particularly lovely, beautiful day here in Cape May County, New Jersey. I am excited to have the guest with us today, Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. There we go. I want to make sure I got that right. He is an author and a truth teller. We're gonna see how much the audience agrees or disagrees. I think it's exciting. Oh, Malcolm, thank you. Hi, everybody in the chat. Ivar, Antonio, Jacqueline, hello. And welcome. And for those of you out there at SHR Media and High Plains Fun Talk Radio land, I'm talking to the people who are joining us in the Facey chat. But we're going to talk about, in light of, what's going on with the Mueller investigation and just the type of leadership that we have in our president and having the kind of media, the way he uses the media, I thought it would be a good idea to have Dr. Tsipursky on today. Also, the budget, I think next year's budget has like another $3 million scheduled for this investigation. So, money is definitely involved here. And so I thought in light of those things, we would have a lovely chat with Dr. Tsipursky today. So I'm excited about that. Garrett Kerr, welcome. Darrell, hi. Or Daryl, I apologize if I got that wrong. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Jesse. Okay. So let's talk, do a little bit of housekeeping. If you are not following me on any of my social media, you can follow me on Twitter at MoneyTalkMel, or that's the show page. Or if you really want to be entertained, you can follow me on my political page, which is hi Mike Fitzpatrick, which is at NJGOP Diva. I did not name myself. A diva does not name herself a diva. Someone else has to do that. So actually, a former mayor named me that, and so I took it as my Twitter handle. But you can follow me there, and the show is literally everywhere, whatever platform you prefer: Google Plus, Pinterest, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube. I'm everywhere. You can't escape me, So anyway, hey Gina, hi Michael, hi, hey Karen. So very excited about that. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Let's talk a little bit about the news now. I had some kind of boring, business news, but I guess we got to talk about the 13 people that got indicted, probably. Have to talk about that. Oh my gosh. And here's the thing, like, everybody seems to be drawing their own conclusions. It's part of the problem. And that is what's wrong with the media, in my opinion. I mean, I had the misfortune of listening, this is terrible, but I'm going to say it, of listening to Shep Smith on my way home. And he's just clearly so biased. Oh, our guest is in the chat. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Gleb, for being in the chat. I appreciate it. It's a bad look. It's a bad. The whole situation is bad. They've been investigating this long and haven't found anything. But the shoe is about to drop. Blah blah blah. Sure it is. I don't know. I don't know, but I know it's a sad state of our government, to be honest with you, when you no longer can really trust our media, when you know for a fact that our media is in a particular camp. That's just terrible. Like, I should not be able to tell that Shepard Smith detests the president. I should not know that, but I absolutely can, and it is terrible. I can't listen to him. I can't listen to any news anymore, except maybe some Christian news networks, because he's just brutal. But anyway, retail giant JCPenney is cutting 480 jobs, and they're closing at least 8 more stores. very, very upsetting because I love JCPenney because they're like super cheap. Hey, Chris Gaines, Jerry, Charles, welcome. I love JCPenney. I don't know about you guys, but you know, you can get some like really nice outfits and stuff for cheap. And maybe I don't know, maybe they need to raise their prices. Maybe that's the issue. I don't know, but they're closing. So I'm like crossing my fingers that they won't be closing my favorite store. But JCPenney's going to be closing. It's a sin. Congress is mulling over some rules for cryptocurrency. Now, this is of concern. Those of you who listened to my show yesterday, where I had Carol Ravensong from BitShares on my show, you know, we talked a little bit about like whether or not the government was going to regulate cryptocurrency. I had asked him about that. And the beauty, part of the beauty of cryptocurrency and its existence, it's that the government is not really able to touch it at this point. Well, the government being what it is, according to Reuters, legislators, lawmakers are looking for them to be regulated like other securities with digital assets and SEC rules to protect investors. Yeah, to protect investors, my hiney. I don't, it's not, come on now. Anyway. It's, you know, I'm not real happy about the government. You know, when lawmakers start looking at passing, here's the thing, and I think Kirill mentioned this yesterday. Kirill, keep pronouncing that man's name wrong. I think Kirill mentioned this yesterday, was that like if they're going to regulate them, then please have some people that actually know what the word blockchain means. It's like, you know, have some lawmakers that know what's going on. But you know that that's not what's going to happen, and that's half the problem. You know, nothing against doctors and lawyers. Hey, Maurice, how are you? Nothing against doctors and lawyers, but I don't think most of them know cryptocurrency or, you know, IT security or anything like that, which are very important things that you need to know if you're going to think about something like regulations and cryptocurrency. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. They always bring up Bitcoin as kind of the most popular ones, but one of the things me and Kirill didn't talk about is diversifying your cryptocurrency. Everybody's kind of into Bitcoin because that's kind of the most popular one. It's almost like you know, people call tissues a Kleenex. Like Bitcoin is almost that for cryptocurrency, but there really are several different types of cryptocurrency. So if you're into that and you like to gamble, you might want, but just do your research. Like any other investment, you do your research. And if you're using it for investing, by all means, diversify. That's always key. Facey, the medium in which we are on now, Facebook is going to send postcards to ad buyers in order to verify their United States addresses. I don't know how well we think this is going to work, but that's what they're going to do. Because, you know, social media sites have been accused of not stopping Russia-linked trolls from buying politically charged ads. Now, I'm going to tell you, and I don't know how other people feel about this, but I kind of have a problem with this. Like, I thought that the free and open market meant anybody who could buy an ad that they wanted to buy. And maybe I'm missing something about this, but isn't that like buyer beware, consumer be informed, something like that? And I'm sure I'm going to ask Dr. Tsipursky about my opinion on this, but not that I'm by no means pro-Russia, but I am anti stopping people from purchasing things on a free market, and kind of like you're kind of stopping their free speech. There's a lot of fake news out there, but I think that, you know, it's voters' jobs to be informed. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that Facebook should be doing that, but I guess if Big Brother tells you have to, you must. Anywho, but I wanted to make you guys aware of that. Anyway, we're up against a quick break. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky, and we are going to discuss with him today, very excited, post-truth politics, fake news, and alternative facts. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition. Gun control advocates like Geraldo Rivera's Remove Firearms will stop events like the recent shootings in Florida from happening. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the editor's notebook, is Geraldo Rivera out of his banana republic mind? If gun control prevented horrific events like the shootings in Florida, remember Virginia Tech, or every day in the ghettos of Cleveland and Chicago, then those would be the safest places on earth because of heavy gun restrictions. No, my fellow Americans, the underlying problem is a lack of proper moral instruction and shaming of evildoers who seek to bring harm to sovereign individuals. Another problem is the media's general omission of the Florida murderers' affiliation and attachment to leftist hate-filled organizations like CARE and Antifa. When children are not given a foundation of a more righteous standard, then very often they will adopt the mindset of the left, which entails a lack of self-control, hatred of that which is good, and a desire to lash out at others and bring about destruction. If taking the weapons away from law-abiding citizens ended indiscriminate violence, then there would not be a massive stabbing epidemic in gun-free London, England. I'm Ron Edwards. Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America. Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
And welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. Our guest today is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky, who is going to talk to us today about truth, politics, fake news, and alternative facts. He is an author, among other things, but a truth teller. He is all about truth in the media. A little bit about his background. He is a professor at Ohio State University, president at Intentional Insights. He's an author of multiple books. Check him out on Amazon. They're great too. I was doing a little research today and like really got caught up in, I believe the one I was reading was, oh goodness, was a Truth Seeker's Handbook. It's really awesome. But that's not even the book that he's promoting. He's going to be promoting today, but it's really good. I'm going to have to pick that up because it's excellent. He has a book coming up called The Alternative to Alternative Facts, Fighting Post-Truth Politics with Behavioral Science. So very excited to have Dr. Gleb Tsipursky on today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks again for having me on, Melanie. I was glad to be on the last time we talked together, and glad to talk to you today as well.
That's right. You are a return guest. I mentioned that when I talked to you earlier. I totally forgot to mention that to the audience. Yes, Dr. Tsipursky has been here before. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited, especially in light of all that's going on in the media. Talk about good timing. So
I know. Well, there's no bad timing, it seems, in the current political environment to talk about fake news and post-truth politics, is there?
Exactly. Listen, he's keeping things interesting, our president, isn't he? he's
and he's not the only one. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. I mean, the most recent thing I think was really interesting was this idea that, there were this website that says there were 18 school shootings since the start of this year. And when you think of school shooting, you think of, kids shot in school, like what happened in Florida. Well, actually, the website uses evidence, uses the term school shooting to refer to accidental discharge of firearms on school property after hours. Now, if that's not fake news, what is? So that's a clear example of where it's nothing coming from our president. It's coming from a left-leaning website that's trying to blow up the idea that there are school shootings everywhere.
That was ridiculous. I saw that, and I heard about some of the. I actually watched the video last night. I think from Prager Institute that talked about that, and I think there was some other crazy thing that they used, like somebody shot themselves in a school zone or something, and they were like, "That's a school shooting."
Yep. Exactly. So that's quite unfortunate that these things are being presented. It's not far from only the president. There are plenty of other sources that are presenting information that is not aligned with reality.
You are so right. So tell us a little bit about that. Well, first of all, I think that everybody kind of has their suspicions about why someone would want to mislead people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's kind of got an agenda that they're working to push, but I think
does. Yes.
Right.
Who wants to mislead people, and the essential reason. Let's just being honest. There is a benefit in lying. There is a benefit in misleading and deceiving, and the only reason to avoid doing that is to prevent mistrust from developing in our society and undermining the way we interact with each other and trust each other and collaborate with each other. So that's the main reason to be honest and truthful, because that is the right thing to do from the perspective of having good relationships and having good public discourse, having a really civil society. And people who mislead and deceive are undermining the civil discourse, the civil society, which is so important for our democracy.
Indeed. And if we were to if we were to unify, God forbid, and actually get things done, there are a lot of people, I think, a lot of entities that have an interest in not seeing that happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're ones who want to divide and not unite. So it's a very harmful dynamic, the ones who lie and deceive, because they are destroying this unity. They are trying to split us apart. Whereas ideally, we would be coming together as a country and not being split apart by people who promote deceptions and mistruths, misleading information, like the 18 school shootings.
Of course. Now, why do you think it is, like, kind of knowing this knowledge, or maybe you've discovered that most people don't have this knowledge, that there really are powers that be and entities that are out there to deceive you? Because I'm wondering, kind of armed with that fact as a media consumer, why do people fall for this inaccurate news, this fake news?
Oh, that's actually pretty simple. So before the rise of online digital media, we had the nightly news, television, newspapers, which filtered out the fake news. They had some spin, but they filtered out misinformation. They didn't have outright lies and deceptions and bias. So really, people in a time when digital media wasn't a factor, when social media wasn't a factor, they didn't need to be well-educated consumers. They were getting relatively accurate information with some spin, left or right, whichever you were listening to. But your local nightly news are generally going to be slightly left or right of center, depending on where you live. If you live in the right conservative area, it's going to be right of center. Liberal area, it's left of center. Now, when the digital media world started up, there were complete fake stuff made up and fed to people by agencies like the Internet Research Agency, which is the Russian troll farm that spreads misinformation, and many other entities which we can talk about. And people didn't have any protections. They didn't have any deceptions. They didn't have any way of dealing with the lack of media literacy. They didn't know how to consume this information well. And this is the underlying reason why we have so much fake news, why it's so effective, and why people are so influenced by it.
And do you think that, I'm wondering if attention spans have just become shorter because of social media? Like if people are not really willing to dig when they hear or see something that sounds crazy. Like as soon as I heard, 18 school shootings, and I'm like, seems to me that would have been in the news like a lot if there were 18. Like that number sounded crazy to me from the door. So that like somebody concerned about that, you would think that would prompt them to dig deeper to find out whether or not that was true. But I'm not sure that the average media consumer is really up for that.
Yes, but you have to remember that you are a media producer. You know how the media landscape works. You are very different from the typical media consumers. I'm sure many of the listeners of your show are more educated, media-savvy consumers because they're listening to your show and you tell them about this, how this dynamic works. Most people are not like you or many of the listeners of your show who are more savvy. Most people just consume the media. They are used to being passive consumers, because that's what they grew up with. They grew up with relatively accurate depictions from their nightly news that they got on television. Now, according to the latest polls, more than 60% of people are getting at least some news from social media. Imagine that 60% of the population is getting news in social media, and we know that news on social media is full of fake news. There is a study done on the top 20 news stories in the 3 months before the 2016 election. And there was comparison of the top 20 fake news stories released to the election and top 20 real news stories on Facebook. The top 20 real news stories from venues like Wall Street Journal and Fox News had something like 7 million engagements, which is comments, likes, and shares. The top 20 fake news stories, from sites like the Internet Research Agency sponsored sites, had 8 million engagements. That's ordinary people, media consumers on Facebook in the US, liking, engaging, clicking on those. So fake news is outcompeting real news on Facebook, very unfortunately, because people don't have that media literacy, and that's the big problem, that they're not educated, and this is the consequence of it. They believe falsehoods, and they vote based on their false beliefs.
That is very sad. Now let me ask you, because I know, because I have so many Facebook friends, and many of them are in the chat. We've all experienced this at some point, I think, where you're able to prove to someone who may disagree with you on some media story or on some quote unquote facts, but then when you present them with the facts, like they don't necessarily want to read the study. They don't necessarily want to, I feel like a lot of people don't want to know. Like they want to believe what they want to believe. Like there's a whole lot of people that want to believe that Donald Trump, is a sexist, racist, horrible person. And on the other side of the aisle, he's the second coming. So I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. So
makes sense. So yeah, people don't want. There's a psychological, some behavioral science expert, and there's a psychological phenomenon called confirmation bias, where people tend to orient toward information that confirms their biased perspectives. Where people on the left would tend to gravitate towards far left websites, people on the right would tend to gravitate towards far right websites. Again, this is only enabled by the media, by the end of the mainstream media. That the mainstream media is not the nightly news, which is again slightly left or slightly right, whatever it is. Right now, people can go to their echo chambers and get all this information from there. So our information ecosystem in the current environment is simply broken. We can't rely on the same signifiers of credibility that we used to rely on before, and schools aren't educating us about how to deal with the current media landscape. Like I said, savvy people like yourself and many of your listeners are able to address this problem through your education, for you providing them with this information. But most people are not. They are not listening to people like you. They're used to their being passive consumers of information. And that's the problem that we're living in, that this passive consumption leads to confirmation bias, leads to going into echo chambers and having these extremist beliefs, like you said, whereas the truth is really somewhere in the middle in both cases.
For sure. Now, I have a quick question in the chat, and I don't want it to go away before I forget. Someone wanted to know whether or not you were an advocate for some type of censorship, and I think it's because we're talking about you know, the fake news and people kind of believing what they want to believe and how to prevent it. So maybe that's where that question came from. That question came from a big fan of the show, Doug.
Sure. I don't advocate censorship. So I advocate a very libertarian approach. So something that I'm involved with myself is the Pro-Truth Pledge, at protruthpledge.org, and that's something that the book talks about that I'm writing. But folks who are interested can check out the Pro-Truth Pledge at protruthpledge.org. And this is a commitment to 12 behaviors that are the essence of media literacy and critical thinking, where people themselves, everyone, goes and makes a commitment to follow these behaviors and encourage those in their communities to follow their behaviors and encourage their journalists, they listen to their political representatives, other public figures, their faith leaders to commit to these behaviors as well. So it's a very grassroots, bottom-up approach to promoting effective critical thinking and media literacy. These are behaviors that everyone can agree with. Things like fact-checking information to confirm it's true before accepting and sharing it, acknowledging when others share true information, even when they disagree otherwise, and celebrating those who retract incorrect statements and update their beliefs toward the truth. Very simple things, very clear things, a very libertarian grassroots approach without any government intervention.
Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking all of that. I mean, because to me, you would think that those principles that you presented are things that you would think that no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that they would be pretty reasonable things to agree to. Now, I will be the first person to say that I am totally guilty about sharing articles that I haven't checked out. I'm completely guilty because it's entertaining. But in my defense, I do that because, like, I rely on people to vet their own information. If I just think it's funny, I'm going to share it and say this is hilarious. And maybe I should be more responsible and sign the pledge to not spread fake news. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should re-examine that.
So consider that. So this is kind of the situation in which we're in. If we think about any situation where the system we're in is broken, we're right now in a broken information ecosystem. So if we're in a broken information ecosystem, we as individual people who understand it's broken need to take accountability for fixing it. You need to take accountability of taking out the trash, right? You take accountability of cleaning up the mess.
Boo! Accountability! Boo! I'm just kidding. No one likes accountability. I'm just kidding.
I know. But when it's a very basic libertarian conservative principle. When you make a mess, you clean it up. When you see a system is broken, you clean it up. This is it's not you who.
Don't say that. Now I feel guilty. No, you're right though.
This is all about you see a mess. If you're not going to clean it up, who's going to clean it up, right? So that's what it's about. Well, when we as individuals see that the system is broken, if we don't do anything about it, we just kind of go on, we are part of the broader problem and not part of the solution. So this is about being part of the solution. It wasn't fun for me when I took the Pro-Truth Pledge and stopped sharing fun and engaging articles that were entertaining but misleading. Then after I took the Pro-Truth Pledge, of course, I stopped doing that because, that's for the Pro-Truth Pledge. So making this commitment is a way of changing my behavior and encouraging other people around me to change their behaviors. This is the way we do it. We have conversations with each other when we say, hey, this is a commitment I make. I welcome and invite you all to make the same commitment with me and encourage your political representatives to take the Pro-Truth Pledge. We have everyone from conservative Christian pastors to, socialist atheists taking the Pro-Truth Pledge and everyone in the middle.
Imagine that, but then who's going to be mad is the government. they're going to try to figure out a way to stop.
I don't mind the government being mad. Actually, there are over 100 officials and candidates for office who took the Pro-Truth Pledge, and partially because a number of their constituents told them, hey, how about you take the Pro-Truth Pledge, and that makes me more likely to vote for you. So
I love it. That actually is a fantastic idea. So you should figure out how to get that done for 2020. That would be.
We are.
Are you?
Actually, yeah, we are. We have Republican and Democrat folks all over taking the pro-truth pledge. In fact, I just spoke with the Republican Party county chairman, and he's strongly considering taking the pledge and encouraging party officials, candidates in his party to take the pro-truth pledge as well.
Now, what is interesting about even that statement is the fact that politicians have to consider it. Like, why? Like, you understand what I'm sure you do understand what I'm saying. I'm sure my audience does as well. Like, what? Like, if someone came to me and said, hey, can you sign this paper saying that you're going to tell the truth all the time in this situation? I think for the most part, I would not hesitate, because I kind of pride myself on being somebody who tells the truth, if at all possible. But a politician has to consider whether or not they're going to sign a pledge to tell the truth.
Yes, politician does. So that's the essence. That's why we want as many private citizens as possible to go to protruthpledge.org and take the pledge, because the more private citizens take it, the more incentives politicians have to take it. Here in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm based, we have something like 400 citizens taking the pro-truth pledge. And because of that, and we got some nice media attention, we have a number of city council members and the country treasurer taking the pro-truth pledge at the local level. In other venues in other cities, we heard politicians saying, hey, you come back to us when you have more signatories to the pro-truth pledge, and then we'll consider signing it. So it's a matter of numbers. It's a numbers game. They need some incentives. They need rewards. They need to know that they will be adequately rewarded by voter support for taking the pro-truth pledge and constricting themselves to not telling lies. Because, of course, politicians who can both tell the truth and also tell lies have more options and are more likely to get elected, unfortunately.
Well, and you know what they call it? That this is the crazy thing. Like, they call it rhetoric. And I'm like, no, that's lying.
I know, exactly. But it's kind of like, it's kind of like the Better Business Bureau for politicians. The Better Business Bureau essentially holds businesses accountable for being ethical. And some businesses are not going to be ethical and are not going to sign it. And some businesses are going to be ethical and are going to sign it. They're going to restrict their behaviors to be more ethical. Maybe it will cost them less profit by not restricting those behaviors, but it will give them more customers and more profit in the end, because they know that people will prefer to do business with them and may, pay more money to do business with an ethical business that is signed up to the Better Business Bureau. Same thing with the pro-truth pledge. It
really is amazing when you think about it. This is the world that we live in. So would that come under like ways we can help people avoid falling for the lies? Like, the things that you mentioned in the Truth Pledge, like being super responsible about our social media and kind of, not being, just not sharing stuff because it's hilarious. Because, many of us, I think, have the attitude like, this is so stupid, like no one will believe it. But there are tons of people who believe it.
Exactly. There was somebody in your chat Malcolm Freud, who said, it's okay to share an article you're not sure of because everybody else will catch it anyway if it's fake. Well, people who are in your Facebook feed trust you to share quality articles, and you may think that they will catch it, but of course they won't. So there are many who won't, and they'll think that it's true and accurate. So you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution if you're sharing articles that you think people will catch if it's fake. They are relying on you, and you're relying on them, and then everybody gets hurt.
You're right.
Everybody is deceived.
You're right. I mean, I just the other day, somebody messaged me and said, hey, that article was proven fake like 10 years ago. I'm like, no, I didn't know that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shared it had I known that. And then you have these, fact-checking sites that, like Snopes and things like that are not, now even they have bias. Like, they used to be really reliable. But now even places like Snopes, you have to check. There are people who think that The Onion, there are people who don't know that The Onion News is a satire site.
Absolutely. And it's very unfortunate that they don't. And they think that it's an accurate statement. And, they think that The Onion has real news. But it's a satire site, just the same thing. And you have left-leaning and right-leaning satire sites all the time as well. It's very unfortunate that people mistake these things. They think, they share things and they think, oh, it's satire, all my friends will get it. Well, there's a phenomenon called the false consensus effect, where we tend to assume our friends are smarter and wiser than we think they are, and that they think more similarly to us than they actually do. So we make basic psychological errors about our friends. We are more confident in their capacity than they actually are. Here's a study. There was a study showing that people on Facebook, and this was a study done by Stanford University on savvy social media users, on students. It showed that students think that articles are more credible and more reliable if they have a larger graphic image.
Oh, good Lord.
You and I know that the size of a graphic image doesn't have anything to do with the credibility of an article. But that's what students think. It's very unfortunate.
As a public school teacher and an adjunct professor myself, that doesn't shock me all that much, but it probably shocks my audience. We're up against a break, and when we come back, I really want to talk to you about the deception in politics and why it really is harmful to our entire political system.
Excellent.
Okay, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. Hey, it's Sean from the Saturday Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever had somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Place Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch River Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Hey guys, this is Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Check us out every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. And this is Sackhead Clint, is the best looking one of the bunch. It's my duty to remind you to check us out on our YouTube channel.
And don't forget to check us out on the SHR Media Facebook page. The best looking one? Really? You gonna go there?
Every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHR
Choice.
Media
I have the award.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EVL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. Let me get that right. And we're talking about fake news and alternative facts. And I'm giggling because I have some of my audience in the Facebook chat are being comedians in there and making me laugh with their comments. It's actually very funny. You're not on the Facebook chat. Do yourself a favor and come hang out with us on the Facebook chat. And the reason why is because Dr. Tsipursky was commenting that there was a study that said that students are likely, forgive me if I get this wrong, are more likely to believe an article if the image is bigger.
This is true. This is unfortunate, but it's true.
And I'm sure you saw in the Facey chat that one of our friends say when I call someone an idiot, all I have to do is make the image bigger. Just pretty funny, Dick Herschel. But anyhow, I wanted to talk to you before the break. I had asked you about whether or not this deception in politics is actually harmful to our republic. Like, do we need to be legitimately concerned about it, or is it all fun and games?
So we do indeed need to be legitimately concerned about it for several reasons. One of the reasons is corruption. So corruption is a huge, huge problem in American society, in American government. Lots of people are really worried about corruption. And unfortunately, the media, journalists, are our main way of getting rid of corruption. They uncover corruption and they put people in jail. You know, the Democratic governor of Illinois has been in jail, and of other people put jailed for corruption. So it's a very big and dangerous problem, corruption in our society. Now, if you have politicians, and the politician can lie about not being corrupt, and voters believe him, this is a huge problem, because this politician can now get away with corruption and can stuff his pockets. And we can't do anything about it because he has so many voters believing him when he says, oh, this media story about my corruption is fake news. And we have a number of politicians right now who are in this position. The Kentucky governor is actually in this exact position. He bought a house for a land developer, for a real estate developer and a stock investor who he put on the Kentucky Retirement Board, which controls billions and billions and billions of dollars in investments. So, which obviously this guy can enrich himself because he controls these investments. And the Kentucky governor bought a house from him for about $1 million less than this house was worth. $1 million less than the official house assessment was worth. The newspapers reported on this, and he started calling the newspapers fake news, attacking them right and left. So now this guy's getting away with pretty clear bribery, corruption, and voters are supporting him. Very unfortunately, this is a clear example of where corruption is a result of attacking the news media as fake news and post-truth politics. So this is a clear example of a big danger to our society.
Well,
that's one.
Go ahead. That's a great example, and I feel like I hear that all the time now. That's an excellent. You hear these scenarios, and you're like, I don't know. I think some of us have that kind of gut instinct, and when we are judicial and critical about the news we take in, things that have a ring of truth, you're like, yeah, that sounds about right. But they'll call it fake news. Now, I'm wondering if you feel as though the media, kind of boy who cried wolf style, is kind of responsible. It has some responsibility there, because if they were not so biased, then perhaps these people who are corrupt would not have a leg to stand on. Like if the media was more trustworthy in other things, that like we said about the 18 school shootings that were going around, maybe corrupt politicians wouldn't be able to use that. Do you think that the media is complicit in any way?
Well, there's no question the media is complicit. I mean, since I used to watch CNN much more before Trump took office, but now they've become kind of like a very anti-Trump biased channel, and other channels as well have become more biased, more anti-Trump, not simply anti-Trump, but biased in various ways. So these channels, these news channels, we're not back in the world of the nightly news when it had a little bit of spin on the left and the right, but wasn't generally factually accurate. At least it had very moderate spin. Right now, these news channels are competing with digital media. So they're competing with complete clickbaity sites on the left and on the right. So in order to draw headlines, CNN is making articles like, the top 37 reasons why Trump is terrible, or something like that. And whatever they call them, Fox News is doing the same thing. The top 30 reasons why Obama is terrible, listicle style articles. They are going and competing with these digital news sites. So it's kind of it's relating back to the rise of digital media and social media and the broken information ecosystem. So definitely media is complicit. There's no question that they're complicit. So that's one. And of course, the other element, we talked about corruption, the other element is the danger of foreign powers, which Russia has very clearly been a powerful player in the 2016 election and is clearly becoming a powerful player in the 2018 election. And here in Ohio, where I am, it's quite dangerous because we have a moderate Republican governor, and they are trying to, Russia is not necessarily happy about this moderate Republican governor, and they might be trying to replace him with, some kind of more weak person than he is right now. So Russia is really trying to manipulate us and weaken our democracy. That's essentially what Russia is trying to do. It has an authoritarian system. It wants authoritarianism throughout the world, and it wants to weaken us so that we can't effectively compete with it. So this is a second big danger. One big danger is corruption, and the second big danger is us as a country, as citizens, being manipulated by foreign powers, which they're clearly doing. And unfortunately, because people lack media literacy education, they will continue to be able to do that.
That is an excellent point. Do you think that the media even realizes that they are being used? Because I don't think that Russia, and of course you're the expert, but I don't know that Russia has a dog in the fight. I think they, like you said, they just want our country to be weaker. And I feel like the media hates Donald Trump so much that they don't care.
Well, let's say not Fox News. Fox News doesn't hate Donald Trump, but there are definitely lots of media channels which do, like CNN, and it went from being, center left to far left by now, absolutely. Well, so I think the media are making lots of bad moves, lots of mistakes, and they are far from, they are guilty to some extent in bringing about the current situation. So it's a question not of, everyone has some problematic behaviors. It's a question of how do we solve this without kind of having hard-handed government censorship like they're trying to do in France and elsewhere. And that's what the Pro-Truth Pledge project is about, to get people, ordinary people like yourself, like myself, or both lots of public figures, but ordinary people like the listeners of your show, to go to protruthpledge.org and make commitment to being honest and encouraging other people around them to be honest, to commit to these behaviors, and change our society from the bottom, because that's the only thing we can really do. We can get, the nice thing about media also is that once a media channel or a venue talk show host takes the Pro-Truth Pledge, they get to put the Pro-Truth Pledge logo on their website and their show, and that indicates that they're going to be more honest than somebody else, so they can be more trusted. So there's some incentives for media figures as well as politicians to take the Pro-Truth Pledge. Who are you going to be more likely to listen to? Media show that has the Pro-Truth Pledge logo or one that doesn't?
I like it. I was going to ask you, how do you feel about, of course we have, the media that does all these negative things, right? And we know that Fox News is, well, with a couple of exceptions, kind of pro-President Trump. Do you think that when media outlets actually cheerlead, that's just as bad as the negative news? Like when they're cheerleading and it's not accurate, like they're kind of boosting, a situation, making it more positive than it should be. Do you think that's just as bad?
Yeah, I think it's just as bad in the same way that, things like, let's say, the New York Times was cheerleading President Barack Obama when he was in office. That's a really problematic thing, or MSNBC, because they're providing spin from the other perspective, but in 2020 or in 2024, there might be a Democrat elected, and then MSNBC will be cheerleading that person. They won't be trying to bring that person down, right? So that will be just as bad from the other side. So either spin from either side, supportive, positive spin or negative spin is bad. It's harmful because it undermines trust. It undermines credibility. It's part of the pollution of truth in our democracy. It's part of the mess that we need to clean up from either perspective.
I agree completely. So where can our listeners, those who are just listening on via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio, where can they find the pledge?
They can find it at protruthpledge.org. Again, that's PROTRUTHPLETGE.org. And listeners might be already following these behaviors. The point of the Pro-Truth Pledge is to make a public statement that you're committed to these behaviors. And I welcome you, Melanie, to consider taking the Pro-Truth Pledge as well and committing yourself to these behaviors.
I guess I have to put my money where my mouth is now, don't I? I knew that was coming. I wasn't sure you were going to say it on the air, but I knew that was coming. Where can we find your book? What's the title of your upcoming book, and where can we find it when it comes out? When is it coming?
So it's going to be coming out later this year, but in the meantime, you can go to my website, Dr. Gleb Tsipursky, and sign up to my newsletter, and I'll inform you when it's coming out. In the meantime, you can check out my current book, The Truth Seeker's Handbook, a Science-Based Guide, which is a book about how you as an individual can find the truth and avoid deceptions, and how you can guide other people around you to figure out the truth and avoid deceptions. So The Truth Seeker's Handbook, a Science-Based Guide, is available on Amazon now. Excellent.
Yet the chapter I think I cracked open was entitled something like The Probability of Coincidences. Really good. Really good. That's really good. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Once again, very, very informative. I appreciate it so. Oh, okay. I have to say, one of my chat listeners, Greg Wilson, said Melanie's lack of poker face is her pro-truth pledge. which is very true. But I appreciate you being on the show this evening. Just a really wonderful job, and wishing you much success with your book.
Thank you so much, Melanie, and I really appreciate you having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to be on again.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I want to thank everyone for listening and being so active in the chat. You guys totally rock. You guys out there in SHR Media Land and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio Land. And I don't want to leave out all the folks, and there are many of you who are downloading my podcast after it's off the air. I look at my numbers every day because I'm a little neurotic that way. And many of you are downloading the podcast later. And I want to say that I appreciate you. You're on iTunes, Android, however you're doing it, on Blog Talk Radio. Love you guys too. And I never mentioned you. I failed to do that. And I want to make sure I do that now. Thank you so very much. And above all, remember that all of this is very important, because after all, it's your money. Have a great night.